Our movement is about replacing a failed and corrupt political establishment with a new government controlled by you, the American people. The Washington establishment and the financial and media corporations that fund it exist for only one reason: to protect and enrich itself. The establishment has trillions of dollars at stake in this election. For those who control the levers of power in Washington and for the global special interest, they partner with these people that don't have your good in mind. Our campaign represents a true existential threat like they haven't seen before. This is not simply another 4-year election. This is a crossroads in the history of our civilization that will determine whether or not we, the people, reclaim control over our government. The political establishment that is trying to stop us is the same group responsible for our disastrous trade deals, massive illegal immigration, and economic and foreign policies that have bled our country dry. The political establishment has brought about the destruction of our factories and our jobs as they flee to Mexico, China, and other countries all around the world. It's a global power structure that is responsible for the economic decisions that have robbed our working class, stripped our country of its wealth, and put that money into the pockets of a handful of large corporations and political entities. This is a struggle for the survival of our nation, and this will be our last chance to save it. This election will determine whether we're a free nation or whether we have only the illusion of democracy, but are in fact controlled by a small handful of global special interests rigging the system, and our system is rigged. This is reality. You know it, they know it, I know it, and pretty much the whole world knows it. The Clinton machine is at the center of this power structure. We've seen this firsthand in the WikiLeaks documents, in which Hillary Clinton meets in secret with international banks to plot the destruction of U.S. sovereignty in order to enrich these global financial powers, her special interest friends, and her donors. Honestly, she should be locked up. The most powerful weapon deployed by the Clintons is the corporate media, the press. Let's be clear on one thing. The corporate media in our country is no longer involved in journalism. They're a political special interest, no different than any lobbyist or other financial entity with a total political agenda, and the agenda is not for you, it's for themselves. Anyone who challenges their control is deemed a sexist, a racist, a xenophobe. They will lie, and then again, they will do worse than that. They will do whatever's necessary. The Clintons are criminals, remember that. This is well documented. And the establishment that protects them has engaged in a massive cover-up of widespread criminal activity at the State Department and the Clinton Foundation in order to keep the Clintons in power. They knew they would throw every lie they could at me and my family and my loved ones. They knew they would stop at nothing to try to stop me. Nevertheless, I take all of these slings and arrows gladly for you. I take them for our movement so that we can have our country back. I knew this day would arrive. It's only a question of when. And I knew the American people would rise above it and vote for the future they deserve. The only thing that can stop this corrupt machine is you. The only force strong enough to save our country is us. The only people brave enough to vote out this corrupt establishment is you, the American people. Our great civilization has come upon a moment of reckoning. I didn't need to do this, folks, believe me. I built a great company, and I had a wonderful life. I could have enjoyed the fruits and benefits of years of successful business deals and businesses for myself and my family, instead of going through this absolute horror show of lies, deceptions, malicious attacks. Who would have thought? I'm doing it because this country has given me so much, and I feel so strongly that it's my turn to give back to the country that I love. I'm doing this for the people and for the movement, and we will take back this country for you, and we will make America great again.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I just realized what a master father President Trump is to his kids. As I was listening to that so spot on intro by the president, I realized that he has completely set up all of his kids that nobody knew before his campaign, except for a few in the businesses and in New York. But the whole world now knows Donald Trump Jr., Ivanka Trump, and all the rest of them. What a smooth move. Just thought of that. Hey, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, let's loosen up a little bit. Let's relax. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Cold War Radio Special Report. I see that the Spreaker chat room is armed and activated. I prefer 22 long rifle hollow points, Art, for inside close quarter destruction, but to each his own. Spray that Uzi, baby. Welcome to Cold War Radio, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Hutch Bailey Jr., deep down in the broadcast bunker. Please check out the Facebook page, facebook.com/Cold War Radio 22. Follow me on Spreaker. If you have email, send it to hutch@steelcityresistance.com. Cold War Radio Patron hotline is up at 412-206-6208. You can always catch the podcast at the 405media.com, iHeartRadio, the Cold War Radio app, which is available free for your Android or iPhone, also at Spreaker.com and other places, Spotify. But you know, only one person listens at Spotify. I wonder what a good move that was. A-Radio asked me about that. He said he couldn't find it. I will get back to you when I get some time, sir. Please go to SteelCityResistance.com, where you can catch the research room, and more importantly, become a Cold War Radio patron. Incidentally, all of the patrons got advance notice of this special report. One of the prime advantages of being a patron, other than knowing that you're helping the show, I don't use Patreon the way most people do. I don't use it for additional benefits. Other than that, I just use it as a vehicle because it's so easy to, for you and me, to just consolidate all the fundraising in one area, and that's that. I don't always post the episode on Patreon because that's like the fourth step of wrapping the program up, and sometimes on those late shows, I just want to go. It's not. I don't recommend Patreon as a place to listen to the show, although you can do that. A lot of them are there. But it is an excellent way to stay in touch with me, especially if you're not on Twitter, which is also my other means of communication with you guys other than email. When you go to SteelCityResistance.com, which is the home of Cold War Radio, that's a long story. That's not really a long story. The political shows started with Steel City Resistance, and that just was website, and I stuck with it against the wishes of some people, but I just did because I'm not a real big web engineer. You know, I mess around with it a little bit, but it's not my passion like it is a lot of people. So that's where you can go. When you go there, check out the Cold War Radio show video clips, which is videos of most of the audio clips you hear on the program. And tonight, if you look on that page at the website, it will feature a lot of new songs that we added to the repertoire this afternoon. If you would like to mail the show, please send mail to Cold War Radio, P.O. Box 96022, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 15226. Cold War Radio.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you. As Henry VIII said to each one of his 6 wives, I won't keep you long.
All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, now I'm going to let you down. I should have worded it different. I explained it 3 weeks ago when I came on that, yeah, we're on for 6 hours a week, but I share that time with 3 co-hosts, 4 co-hosts. So, and nothing against them. They're excellent shows. I've listened to them. They're outstanding. But at the end of the week, sometimes I find myself where I didn't say everything that I wanted to say during the week, and it overloaded on me a couple weeks ago, and I just decided to add an additional show, and that's what I've done tonight. I was packed and everything to go up to Checkpoint Charlie up north, and I woke up this morning and I didn't really feel like going for different reasons. It's Christmas, and you know, when you make that trip, I mean, most of you won't understand this, but Ken will, and some of the rest of you will. I have a big old truck with a V8 engine and a 36-gallon fuel tank. And that sucker gets thirsty, which is no problem, but I didn't feel like dropping the $100 into the fuel tank during Christmas on a what do they call it, a fixed income as a retiree. So I just decided to stick around here until maybe after Christmas. I might go up beforehand, but I kind of doubt it. But and so there I am. And I'm thinking, I can't wait until Friday, man. I mean, too much is going on. So there's no, I say special report. That's the title of the episodes that I do by myself. And when I say by myself, I'll mention it again. And there's no pressure here, but I just don't want any co-hosts in the chat room to feel they can't get on there. If you want to come on. No problem. The show notes are published, as are the clips and everything else. So there's that. That's the reason why I did this. I don't know how long it's going to last. We'll see. I've got a lot of material to cover. So I want to start out. I explained about Patreon and the benefits of that. But I want to also talk about some things that are really a shame. I mean, I read a report today that the Boy Scouts of America may file for bankruptcy. And I immediately put out a tweet that might get me banned off Twitter for a while. I don't care. Doesn't matter. But I said, you know what? The homosexual mafia sucks in more ways than one. But, I mean, to get your hooks into something, they are so successful in destroying our country, and our people sit here and let it be destroyed without a whimper. And it's just disgusting to me what they're doing to American boys, especially white boys. It's just something that if we sit here and allow it to happen and don't say anything about it because we're afraid of the Twitter police or the homosexual mafia, who is ruthless. I mean, they are the most godless people in the country. And when you want to argue with me about that, make sure that you put it in context. Because I never said homosexuals. I said the homosexual mafia. The activists that hate Christians, hate themselves, hate America, hate freedom, and love Muslims. Don't ask me why, but they like getting thrown off of buildings, I guess. I don't know what it is. But damn you for doing this to the Boy Scouts. I mean, pretty soon kids won't be able to have pocket knives. I know that the boys in my audience, I know they remember getting their first pocket knife or pen knife. I know I sure do. My mom got me it with green stamps, S&H green stamps. It was really nice. It was a sheath knife with a fake bone handle with a pocket in the front of the sheath that held a pocket knife. I was so proud strapping on that knife when I was about 9, 10 years old, walking around the woods thinking I was Davy Crockett or something. You can't take that away from me. But we are stealing it from young American boys right now. And that infuriates me. It just, talk about Satan walking. Unbelievable. So the Boy Scouts, after all these years of grooming our young men to be good citizens, now they've got all kinds of sexual abuse charges against their den masters or their scout masters, and they thought they were going to appease these Nazis by adding girls. What a stupid concept. The people in charge, Rex Tillerson, you people are fools. Fools. So now that's going to be gone. It's never going to come back. Congratulations. Let's talk about, let's shift over to London. And Sadiq Khan, homicides in Sadiq Khan's London hit 10-year high. The number of deaths in the British and English capital has hit 130 since January 1st, according to the BBC, a figure that a spokesman for Mr. Khan admitted was shameful, including some 73 victims who were stabbed to death versus 14 victims who were fatally shot. Think about that for a second. All these idiots that call for gun control, and the main weapon of choice for mostly Muslim murderers in Muslim-controlled London are knives. But as we have named it before, Islam is the religion, I can't remember now, the religion of loopholes and the religion of lies and the religion of hate. Let's listen to how Sadiq Khan categorizes his city. And this wasn't today. This was right after they caught a terrorist in London, not too long ago. But listen to him describe London.
Do you have the confidence to be able to tell people in this city and those who want to visit from abroad that there isn't going to be a follow-on? What are law enforcement telling you about this particular attack and its aftermath?
Well, London is the safest global city in the world and one of the safest cities in the world. My thoughts are with the family of Keith Palmer, the police officer who tragically lost his life yesterday, keeping our city and keeping Londoners safe. And one of the reasons I can say that London is the safest global city in the world and one of the safest cities in the world is because there were literally tens and thousands of Keith Palmers keeping our city safe, working with members of the public who provide intelligence and information, working with our security services. You will see over the next few days an increased number of armed and unarmed officers across London. You'll see some change around some of the buildings with bollards being put in place. But we are a very safe city. The intelligence we have is that this was an attack from a lone attacker, a lone terrorist, trying to destroy our way of life, trying to divide our communities, trying to kill as many people as possible and injure as many people as possible. And one of the reasons why few people were killed, few people were injured, is because of the bravery of our police service, the bravery of our emergency services, and because we've practiced and prepared for events such as this.
What a moron. There is no such thing as a lone wolf Muslim killer. No such thing. Yet they continue to try to tell you that there is. And then you look in the United States Senate, and little Bobby Corker pushed the resolution blaming the prince in Saudi Arabia, like this Khashoggi guy, a Muslim Brotherhood operative. And if you look into this guy's past, they call him a journalist. Fox News called him a journalist tonight, 7 or 8 times in a 5-minute clip. He wrote 8 or 9 articles from 2017 or 2018 to now, till the time he was murdered, because he's a fool. He was so deep in the world of Saud. His claim to fame was an interview he got with Osama bin Laden. He traveled with bin Laden. He also, I'm trying to think of his brother or cousin was the guy that was having an affair with Princess Di and was killed in the car with her. And there's many other associations that this mope had as a member of the Saudi government and the Saudi elite. And then he decided to start writing things about them in a negative way. And Saudi Arabia has been the same, along with many other countries that have been this way from the very beginning. So for him to go and then roll out to Turkey, what a damn fool. But the Senate decided, and little Bobby Corker, he never saw somebody from the Muslim Brotherhood that he didn't love. Either the Muslim Brotherhood or Iran. I mean, he's the guy that facilitated the Iran deal. But no, we praise this guy like he's some kind of journalist, which he's not. Let's welcome Ken. What's going on from King George? Hello.
Hey, what's going on, Hutch? Hey, I just flew through London probably about 2 years ago, and on the way over, wasn't all that bad. But on the way back, this was when I did our little Baltic cruise.
Right.
So on the way back, we flew from Stockholm, Sweden, through Heathrow back to Dulles. So because one of the ladies that was on the cruise with us, we met her on another cruise. She's bound to a wheelchair.
Right.
So, I mean, she gets around, but so when we got to Stockholm, we were like, hey, you know, this lady needs a wheelchair. What's the deal here? Well, we waited around for about 10 minutes. Nobody showed up. And finally, you've met my wife. She's a woman of action, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, nobody's doing this. Get us a wheelchair. We'll take Linda to the terminal, right?
Right.
And they're freaking out. You know, they're like, okay, we got this. So when we get to London, same thing. They provide us with a wheelchair, and all right. So anybody with a disability, so I'm like, well, we're going to cut in line in front of all these people, and we're like, well, you're carrying Linda's bag. So I was like, all right. So here's the London equivalent, or the English British equivalent of TSA, looking at this other woman in a wheelchair, wearing a full-on burqa, looking at her passport, looking at this woman. I'm like, what the hell are you trying to verify with this woman? That her eye color matches her passport?
Right, hold on. Let's regroup here because I'm getting confused. I thought you were in Stockholm. Now you're in what, Heathrow?
Yeah, we're in Heathrow.
You're in Heathrow. And who has the burqa on?
Some random woman that's flying into Dulles Airport.
Gotcha. Continue.
So I'm like, what in the hell? Yeah. So then they're talking about all these flight delays because of extra security and this and that. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm on the flight with this woman that we just went through security with, and they're, scrutinize her and all this, and she's wearing a full-on burqa, and I'm like, if this bitch, sorry,
that's all right,
yells out Aloha snack bar, I'm going to come unglued.
I heard that, man. I can't fly with them, man. I don't want to be anywhere near them. I don't want to be in the same grid square, and you can call me any name you want to call me because of that, but it's a self-preservation thing. It's just like I'm not going to walk down the street, and if there's a group of gangsters sitting on the corner, whether they're black, white, or whatever, I don't care. I have radar and spidey senses and street smarts that I know that they're gangsters, and I'm not going to walk in the middle of them. I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah, and it comes down to, like you said, a self-preservation thing.
Absolutely.
But I'm like, I'm going to be stuck on a flight with this woman for 6 hours, and I don't know what her, I mean,
and they do it.
Be somebody's grandmother, and all right, she's going to visit family or whatever, but I don't know that.
No, and what they do, and this is a proven fact, they try to see just how far they can get without raising attention. I mean, they'll lay the prayer rugs out in the aisle and say a prayer to see what happens. They're setting it up. These people they're evil people, man, and you cannot convince me otherwise.
Well, I mean, even our friend Linda, she was, saying the same thing while we were going down the elevator. She was like, she felt a little nervous. And I was like, hey, they're clearing her, but I don't know how they plan on, verifying her passport when they don't ask her to take off, when they can't verify her face.
Well, I mean, you look at it, Ken. I mean, the largest city in England elected a Muslim mayor. They get what they deserve. That's all I can say. You do it, then suffer, baby. You can't fix stupid, man. Hey, thanks for calling, brother. I got a lot to cover.
All right.
Appreciate your call, man.
Thanks for doing this.
Yes, sir. All right, so there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, what a situation. And I hope you guys are sharing the show because obviously it's not in the schedule. We didn't make 100 last night. We made about 85, and it's continuing to grow as they always do. But I just like those live numbers, and I don't know how many we're going to get tonight, but I only started putting stuff out. I don't know. It was around 5 o'clock, I guess. So we'll see about that. But what I want to do now is I want to play. You're going to have to pay attention because there's something in this clip, and it comes around toward the end that I want to see if you notice, and I'm not going to know if you do, but I'm going to help you out. This is a guy at CNN. His name is Enton, his last name, and this is his take on the top 10 2020 Democrat hopefuls for president. And I want you to see what he says about a couple of the guys on here that happen to be white. And then we'll finish it up, and I'll tell you what you might have missed.
Here, give us your top 10 lists. This is based on polling and money and also reporting political activity behind the scenes.
Sure, right. We're still a very long ways away from the Iowa caucus. Well, not that long away, so we're not statistically inclined yet. But there's a secret sauce that we're using. Maybe put on some penne marinara sauce, and our secret sauce suggests...
Oh, man, I just noticed, damn, does this guy sound light in the loafers. Anyway, just noticing.
That's that. We're going to count it down like Casey Kasem used to do in the good olden days. And at number 10... Kirsten Gillibrand, she's obviously the junior senator from the state of New York. She has a number of things going for her. She has the large New York media market. She has the most anti-Trump record of any United States senator. She's a woman, and keep in mind that women won in record numbers in 2018 Democratic primaries. That being said, she has a number of flaws. For instance, she came out first against Al Franken, which a lot of progressives hold against her. Keep on moving. We'll talk about a man who's in the race, Julian Castro, who comes in at number 9. Look, he's the first in, so we know he's running, so that is a reason.
All right, there's one more thing I want you to pay attention to. You already heard him say it once. Listeners of this program know that the word progressive is synonymous with communist. So I want you to listen to how much CNN is head over heels in love with progressives.
To have him on the list if nothing else.
Exploratory committee.
He's an exploratory committee, sure, and I'm exploring going to get lunch later today. I'm definitely eating lunch. What I'm eating, I don't know. But yeah, he's definitely jumping in. Look, he's a Latino. He was in the Obama administration. He ran HUD. He's an interesting character, but, you know, I think in the year of the woman, I'm a little suspect of having too many men in the upper tier, and more than that, who is he? I think a lot of people might get him confused with his brother
Just
Joaquin.
go get your quiche.
And if you watched his introductory video, I think it left a little to be desired.
Also interesting that he dipped here, you know, even after we get that news, but he's actually dipped in your rankings.
He actually has dipped in our rankings, and part of that we'll get to a little bit later on, but it might be a fellow Texan.
He looks like a Cambodian.
Sherrod Brown, who's the senior senator from the state of Ohio.
But
look, if you want to win in the Midwest, there may not be a better man than this guy. When all the Democrats were losing statewide this year in Ohio, he won by 7 percentage points. This is a state Donald Trump ran away with in 2016. So if Democrats want to play, this is an interesting state, for an interesting guy for them. I will point out, though, another white male. I'm very suspect of that this year going into a Democratic primary with women doing well in the African-American base of the Democratic Party. I'm not sure it's the time to dominate a white man.
Right.
Amy Klobuchar, number 7. She dipped a little bit. Again, we'll get a little bit why other people have risen recently, but another Midwestern senator. She won by 24 percentage points in 2018. She wins easily in the Midwest, and more than that, she's right next door to Iowa. But that said, a little bit boring, perhaps, and more than that, she doesn't have that progressive of a record. Number 6, Bernie Sanders. Same ranking as we had. Look, he got over 40% of the Democratic primary vote in 2016. He has a base within the party. He has the infrastructure in place. That being said, a very old guy. And if you looked at, we spoke about, I think it was last week, among Iowa Democratic chairmen, they're a little suspect of nominating an older gentleman.
And maybe not so much the outsider anymore, which gets us to our top 5 right
and
now.
He's white.
Top really
5.
Interesting.
Right. Number 5. Elizabeth Warren, who has dipped in our rankings, but is still in the top 5. Look, I think she's had a rough few months here with the DNA test that didn't exactly go the way I think she thought it was. She was going up against Donald Trump, and it seemed like she lost that battle. More than that, she didn't have too favorable polling numbers in her home state. Yes, she won by a wide margin in a re-election, but she came in under Hillary Clinton's margin. I think that's trouble going ahead. Number 4, Cory Booker. Cory Booker, I mean, if you've been following politics for a while, right? Cory Booker is someone, a name that you've known, the former mayor of Newark. His detractors perhaps would call him a dreaded neoliberal. That's a word, you know, and they put it in quotes.
It's communist.
Scary. But he's actually had a pretty anti-Trump record. He gets his name out in the press pretty well. He's very personable. More than that, in the state of New Hampshire, Ray Buckley, who's the chairman up there, said, hey, there's no one who did more for our party in this midterm election than Cory Booker did. And New Hampshire is, of course, a very important state. Joe Biden, number 3. Look, he's led in all of these polls. He's led in all of them. But again, and he's also the former vice president, too, the most popular politician in the Democratic Party, but another old white man, so we're a little...
Leading in the polls has a lot to do with name recognition, which brings us, don't give it away yet, the top 2, and this is where it gets really interesting.
This is where it gets really interesting. Beto O'Rourke, who was at number 10, has come all the way up to number 2. I think he's the biggest name, the biggest jump on our list. What's going on with Beto O'Rourke?
Free pass.
Look, they had a MoveOn.org poll, straw poll. It's a, progressive people throughout this country. He came in number 1. He actually beat Bernie Sanders, who got, I believe, 78% of the vote last time around that MoveOn.org poll when they endorsed him. More than that, he's shown an ability to raise money, nearly $80 million in his Texas Senate race. He has shown an ability to get young people very, very excited about politics. And you were mentioning to me off air, I think that's part of the reason why Julian Castro got in the race so early is because he is making people move.
I think it's the main reason. I think Beto is driving the race. I think he's the one who forced Castro to jump in. I think he's the one who has the Bernie people most nervous saying things now about Beto O'Rourke. He may be driving the narrative.
Exactly. He is driving the narrative in the early going. It's still early, and that's part of the reason why he's not actually number 1. Kamala Harris remains our number one. Look, she's in California. She has the big media market. She could appeal to African-American voters. She has a very progressive record, and she sort of checks off two boxes, African-Americans and women who were nominated in record numbers in 2020. But, of course, with such a large field, I would still bet on her not being the nominee, but if there's one person I was forced to choose, it would be her.
And you can also put her up there with Homewrecker. I mean, she did screw her way to the top of the California political world with Willie Brown, the mayor of L.A. or San Francisco or one of those towns out there. I'm going to say L.A. Wow. But did you catch what I was going with? Did you catch it? Because Beto or Beto is fake. His name is Robert O'Rourke, a fine young Irish man who happens to be 100% white, but they give him a pass, and no matter what network you listen to, they call him by the fake name of Beto. Now, in my city, Beto is an Italian name. Beto's Pizza is one of my favorite. It's one of the ones that puts cold cheese on the Sicilian-style pizza. And it's one of the oldest and best pizza restaurants in Pittsburgh. And there's more than one, and they're all Italian. So I don't know where that Beto comes from, but I know it's not his name. His name is Robert O'Rourke. I mean, can you think of a more Irish name? I mean, I'm only 57% Irish, and I could recognize it. So what a sham. What a sham. I couldn't believe it when I was listening to this. It's like, you guys act like Beto's not white. Yeah, he's a white man. I mean, this is going to be interesting to watch, to say the least. Now, something that's going on here that's a little interesting. It sucks, but it's unbelievable to me. This fentanyl problem that we're having, it's more than a problem, epidemic that we're having in the United States. I'm starting to think it's an act of war. The way North Vietnam waged war against our country and our GIs, putting 99% pure heroin on the street in Vietnam, and then these guys got back home and they didn't know what to do when they got the heroin that was so stomped on, it was 5-10%. A lot of people died over that. A lot of people got killed over that. And now we have this fentanyl, and it's so bad. And you guys know, I've told you that my son is a professional firefighter in the city. And he told me one time, after not very long on the job, he's been on there a few years now, but right after he joined, we had a conversation, and I wanted to ensure that he never lost his humanity because of the job. And I told him, and he knew, but I told him anyway as a dad, you've got to separate this. You got to build a wall around yourself when you're out dealing with this human debris and with these people that are victims of dumbness. I don't blame the drug dealers. I don't, man. You're buying it. I don't like drug dealers, but I'm not going to sit here and say that our drug problem is because of Mexico. It's not. It's because of us. If we would stop buying the drugs, it would go away overnight. But no, you idiots got to keep trying this stuff, and I don't know what's wrong with the education program, because I got to tell you, the Pittsburgh public schools scared the heroin right out of my life. I mean, when we went to those classes and we listened to the accounts of some of the things that the returning GIs were doing and just regular scrubs were doing in American cities, they made it perfectly clear to us, you do it one time, you're hooked for life. And nobody that I know ever touched it. And I ran with some hardcore people, and we touched a lot of other stuff, but we never messed with that. It's so bad, ladies and gentlemen, and the reason that I bring this on the show is that this fentanyl rampage has changed the metric of life expectancy in the United States. It has dropped our life expectancy by itself. And that was stunning to me. When I saw that, I was like, what? And then I reflect back on what I was telling you about what my son told me. He said, Dad, he said, nobody should have to see this much death. I mean, these guys, and I'm talking all of them, every single firefighter in the Pittsburgh Fire Department, Bureau of Fire, and probably a lot of medics and a lot of police are now experts in administering the antidote. I mean, Narcan is in every fire truck, every police car, and sometimes you come up to these people, and my son told me, all right, man, as soon as I give it to him, then I put my hand, which is obviously gloved, in front of his mouth, because half of them projectile vomit as soon as you do that. Now, for him to know that, he's seen too many of these. And I'm not trying to get sympathy for my son. He can handle it. But it's just amazing that kids in his own circle that I knew that came to my house on a regular basis when they were young have died of this already. I mean, it's tragic. It really is. It's absolutely tragic. And get involved if you can. I don't know. My kids are older than that now. Don't know what I would do if one was involved, but I would hope that I scared them enough that they wouldn't get into it. There's a couple things you don't mess with. You don't mess with heroin and you don't mess with crack. You don't mess with cocaine, period. Because it's a monster. Just ask Richard Pryor. Or ask 4 or 5 business owners that I know that pissed it all away because of cocaine. In whatever form. All right, enough on the depression. Let's have a little bit of fun. President Trump was being interviewed by Harris Faulkner of the Fox Fake News Company, and he was asked about a couple really strong candidates that were mulling running against him in the primary in 2020. We're going to go to the range, and then we're going to go to this interview.
Pretty good. Nice.
That was fun.
We have. It's going on right now with General Flynn. The FBI said he didn't lie.
I saw your tweet on that about
But
this.
Mueller said he did lie. So they took a man who's a general and a respected person and a nice man, and I don't even know what he said about me because, you know, maybe they scared him enough they don't make up a story. But I have a feeling that maybe he didn't. He's a tougher kind of a guy than Cohn. But they took a general that they said didn't lie, and they convinced him he did lie, and he made some kind of a deal. And now they're recommending no time. You know why? Because they're embarrassed that they got caught.
All right, let's move on. So you mentioned Ohio, so I'm going to bring up John Kasich, and I'm going to bring up Arizona Senator Jeff Flake, because they say they may run against you in 2020.
I hope so.
But look at the new Fox polling today, which has your approval rating at 46%, which is just a couple ticks off of your highest point in Feb of 17.
But it's higher than Obama.
What
it's higher than Obama.
What is your reaction?
See, they forget the... They want to leave that out. Fox is so fake; they're horrible. I have to pull the plug from them at some point, but sometimes you have to get. I like One American News Network. Check that out, but I haven't been able to wean myself completely off of Fox because there are some personalities that I like there, but I really have to. You look at the way they pose questions and the verbiage that they use. It's just. Hard to take, but really, Flake and Kasich, do you people really think that you have a chance? Kasich, the only reason that you stayed alive as long as you did during the primaries was because nobody knew about you and nobody cared about you. All we knew about you is you're a pig when you eat and your father was a postman, you know, a letter carrier or whatever. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I mean, I look at Rubio the same way. His dad was a bartender in the back of one of those portable bars at hotels. You know, that's Marco Rubio. So anyway, I don't think the president is worried about Flake or Kasich, nor should he be. Now, the Republicans in Maryland have decided that they're tired of elections just being something formal that they can never affect, kind of like me, sitting here in the communist city of Pittsburgh, whose mayor was in Poland trying to push communism on them. What a moron. Anyway, I guess he meant well. I don't know. Pittsburgh to Paris. Oh, God. So I don't think he has to worry about that. But the Republicans in Maryland have gone to the Supreme Court and taken a bold tack against Democrat gerrymandering that they did in that state, the same way they did in my state, which allowed a lightweight to get into Congress. I'm trying to remember his name. I can't even remember. His signs are all over the place, but they fell for him. Connor Lamb is his name. I wouldn't vote for somebody that was named Lamb just because his name is Lamb. But anyway, there's that. So let's hope that they can make some headway to get some of this squared away, because it really is horrible the way they do this. I mean, it's called gerrymandering. I think it's because of the way that the lines look. It looks like a salamander almost when they use computer reports and different demographics, and they put the line right where it's going to weaken the Republic. Now, in all fairness, Republicans do it too. But I don't know how good this is. I mean, we'll have to see. It just seems fake. It seems like ballot harvesting, like that kind of thing to me. It doesn't seem like we need to have it. All right, I'm going to bring your spirits up a little. I know this is a fast-moving show, and it's a little faster when I'm by myself, and that's the way the show was always executed. I toned it back a little bit so we could get a little more into detail, and I liked that. But I had to put enough material out here so I could fly solo for 2 hours. So I loaded it full, and we have now a former FEC commissioner and current member of the Heritage Foundation that's going to talk about the situation that the president's in. And after you hear this, the only thing you should be worried about is the integrity of the judiciary when they finally have to judge this absolute criminal hoax that is being portrayed against the president and ruining lives on the way to him.
Michael Cohen just pleaded guilty to a supposed campaign finance violation. Many are claiming this poses problems for the president, but the problem for the U.S. Attorney's Office is hush money payments to mistresses are not considered a campaign-related expense, and if it were, there are many, many members of Congress who are in potential trouble because, according to reports last year, at least $17 million in taxpayer funds have been used to pay off harassment claims against members of Congress. Hi, I'm Hans von Spakovsky. I'm a senior legal fellow at the Heritage Foundation, but I also spent 2 years as a commissioner at the Federal Election Commission. That's the federal agency responsible for enforcing the Federal Election Campaign Act, which regulates how candidates for federal office raise and spend money. The supposed campaign finance violation that the U.S. Attorney's Office in New York is claiming is actually not a violation of campaign finance laws. Here's why. In order for the rules to apply, it has to be a campaign-related expense. The Justice Department only once before has tried to claim that these kind of payments are a campaign-related expense. That's when they attempted to prosecute John Edwards Remember that case? Contributors to John Edwards actually paid money to his mistress, who actually was working for the campaign and had his child. A jury did not believe these were campaign-related expenses, and in fact, John Edwards had 2 former commissioners of the FEC there to testify these were not campaign-related expenses. In fact, when the FEC audited his campaign, the agency itself concluded these were not campaign-related expenses. So this really is not a problem for the president, even though Michael Cohen is pleading guilty to this, because the U.S. Attorney's Office is basically being over-aggressive on this issue. If you take their views to its extreme, it would mean that any time a candidate pays off a legal claim against it, that's a campaign-related expense. Well, if that's the case, remember, in 2017, it was reported that members of Congress have paid over $17 million to pay off almost 300 claims made against those members of Congress for sexual harassment and other claims like that. If the U.S. Attorney's Office is right, then all of those would be campaign-related expenses. Why? Because those payments were meant to silence the people making the claim so that the candidates would not be embarrassed. And obviously, there's potential violations of campaign finance law. Why? Because taxpayer money was used to pay off a campaign-related expense. That just shows how irrational the view is of the U.S. Attorney in the Southern District of New York, and how far outside it is of the usual view of campaign finance law and violations under it.
So there you go. I don't think there's a whole lot to be worried about. And thank you, Rocky, in the chat room. Incidentally, Rocky is the VFW president in the chat room, and the MFIC of the chat room and the VFW. And he said that gerrymandering was named after Governor Gerry, Gerry, of Massachusetts in 1812. Well, thank you very much for that. Now I know, because I tried to talk out of my third point of contact. Sounded good, though, didn't it? Anyway, back to the matter at hand. The thing I'm nervous about right now is the Congress has drafted, and I'm not sure of the progress. I think it's passed in the Senate. It will pass in the House, and President Trump will sign it to eliminate this situation of the Congressional Slush Fund that's funded by taxpayers and shift the burden to actual accusees or convictees if they are convicted of sexual harassment or whatever. But my fear, and ladies and gentlemen, I charge you tonight to stay on top of this. My fear stems from the guttural instincts of the deep state, of the globalists, and now specifically of the deep state uniparty ruling class in Congress. I am almost going to guarantee, and I would hope, before he signs this into law, the president ensures that the current members who are on the hook for the $17 million because they are sexual deviants is not put away the way John McCain and John Kerry put away the records of the MIA and POW families and the actual records of the POWs and MIAs like John McCain. Do not let them put this data, this damning evidence, in a cave. This must come out. The congressmen that are accusing our president of some BS with Stormy Daniels that you know was 1,000% consensual if it did happen, and try to prosecute him when these deviants have put us on the hook for $17 million because they were not raised properly. That's when I get nervous. When they pass legislation, to me, their number one concern is self-preservation of the deep state. So there's no way that I feel that legislation was brought forward with any kind of integrity in mind or any kind of righteousness or anything else. I guarantee it's probably 20,000 pages, and on page 19,017, this data will never be made public. And then there's a seal on it, a wax seal, and done deal, and out to the incinerator all the records go, and we're going to wipe it clean like with a cloth or bleach bit or something. That's my fear. And to me, that is the president's ace in the hole for all of this. It's like, okay, all right, I'll cop to it, but I want to see all those names. I want to see every one of those names that's on there. I want to know who the deviants are. I want a Megan's Law for Congress. I really do. And by the way, not only that, I want drug testing and alcohol testing. I don't know if you've ever seen any footage of either house of Congress. I'm going to say especially the House of Representatives because it's so big. It'd be a little harder to get away with it in the Senate. But half those guys are drunk, especially in the evening sessions when there's a vote. I mean, it's just the way it is. But they are covering their ass. I guarantee it. There's no other way to look at it in my mind. And I am afraid that they are, that the sole purpose of this bill, understanding, ladies and gentlemen, that they actually think that we are stupid. They do. In a lot of ways, we have been for many years, mainly because we were trying to live our lives. But now, with the advent of the internet and shows like this and many others, we realize that no, you've been lying to us this whole time. I mean, there was never Republican opposition to anything. This was all a kabuki theater game. And thank God that we figured it out. Unfortunately, we figured it out. So now we have to live with it and figure out a way to dismantle it. My God, do we need an attorney general that is a George Patton type. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for coming out for a special report. I'm not even getting close to being started. Go ahead and take a break, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Special Report on Cold War Radio with Hutch Bailey Jr. First hour is just about in the can, and we'll be right back.
You are listening to Cold War Radio.
Twas right around Christmas, and as you can see, Arthur Treacher's giving gift certificates free. Don't pay for gift certificates. Get them free with a family pack. Coupons can save lots of money for you. On fish, on chicken, on shrimp and clams, too. Certificates and coupons worth more than $5 free when you buy an Arthur Treacher family pack.
Daddy, afterward, don't forget to bring home our family pack.
Free gift certificates.
Ben Franklin has everything in Christmas trimmings. Come see their complete selection of home and tree decorations. Beautiful tree lights, tree trimming, window decorations, and much, much more. It's true, Ben Franklin has the biggest and best selection in town. Christmas sweets are a must. They feature kitchen-fresh, delicious Christmas candies at reasonable prices. And you'll get helpful, friendly service at Ben Franklin in Williston and Crosby. The Williston store will be open every night till Christmas, and the Crosby store will be open evenings starting December 4th.
This is gonna be a fabulous party.
Here's the Canada Dry.
Everything's gotta be just right for our best friend. It's gonna be great. So let it all begin.
ready for Canada Dry?
Great party, Lucy. Chex Party Mix sure tastes great. Yeah, but it sure goes fast. No problem. More Chex Party Mix! Now we need is some great party music. No problem. Party music! Well, at least the food's great. Chex Party Mix. Tastes great. Goes fast.
A suspected terrorist taken down. I'm Kathleen Maloney, Fox News. After a 2-day manhunt, the suspect in the deadly attack on a Christmas market in France is found. French Interior Minister Christophe Castaner, through a translator, says the search ended in a deadly shootout.
At 9 p.m., a specialist team comprised of 3 police officers spotted a man walking along the pavement on Rue de Lazaret. This person matched the person we've been looking for since Tuesday evening. They stopped him, and at that moment he turned to the police and fired a shot. They immediately returned fire and neutralized the attacker.
An ISIS group is claiming the gunman was one of its soldiers. The Senate sends a strong message to Saudi Arabia on 2 fronts.
Over White House objections, several Republicans joined every Senate Democrat approving a non-binding resolution that calls for an end to U.S. support of the Saudi-led war in Yemen.
Ultimately, this is not a Republican issue or a Democratic one. It's neither liberal nor conservative. It is simply American.
Utah Republican Mike Lee says U.S. military support must be approved by Congress. The House is unlikely to take up the resolution this year. A separate Senate resolution saying the Saudi crown prince is responsible for the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi passed with unanimous support.
Fox's Jared Halpern. As the search continues for a new White House chief of staff, Leon Panetta, who held that position in the Clinton administration, weighs in.
The best combination, frankly, for a chief of staff is somebody who's tough, that can implement good discipline within the White House, but that has a political sense. It's good to have some political experience.
Panetta speaking on the Fox News channel. European Union leaders say Brexit is not open for renegotiation. At a meeting in Brussels, they dismissed a plea from Britain's Prime Minister Theresa May for changes to help her sell the unpopular trade deal to the British lawmakers. This is Fox News.
Right.
President Trump going after Democrats on immigration in a Twitter video.
The Democrats are absolute hypocrites. All along, they've been supporting walls and supporting fences and supporting all sorts of border security.
Illegal immigration is wrong, plain and simple.
I voted numerous times when I was a senator to spend money to build a barrier to try to prevent illegal immigrants from coming in.
We simply cannot allow people to pour into the United States undetected, undocumented, unchecked.
The fact is, they've always supported fences and walls and partitions, but you know what? They only don't want to do it because of me.
1,700 troops are being sent home from the southern border. The military says 4,200 remain. A day after Toyota announced an updated recall over faulty Takata airbags, the automaker is notifying drivers about another problem.
Toyota is recalling 96,000 08 to 2019 Land Cruisers and Lexus LX 570 SUVs worldwide over a seatbelt tension sensor that can malfunction and deactivate the passenger's front, knee, and side airbags. The other recall affects 47,000 2018 to 2019 Tacoma pickups and a brake master cylinder seal that can become damaged and leak brake fluid. Owners will be notified in late January. No word if either problem has caused any crashes or injuries. Jeff Manasso.
Holidays were made for Michelob.
Hello, fellow Texans. I'm Major Hutchison, commander of the Northwest Region of the Texas Department of Public Safety. Past experience indicates that about 180 violent death reports will be sent over our teletype network during the Christmas-New Year holiday. These reports will involve 92 traffic fatalities. Here is a very familiar scene. This family is overjoyed with the prospect of visiting relatives and friends over the holidays. Like many other trips, this one will end in tragedy. Law violations cause most fatal crashes. Keep this in mind over the holidays. Don't let the names of your loved ones show up on our teletype network.
Yes, nothing like a fresh set of baggies. Welcome back to Cold War Radio Special Report, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just give a shout-out to all the people in the Spreaker chat room.
I'm talking about Nabby Red, Theo, Tony, and Milton, Mike, Sluggo, and Mike, Chilliam, D.O.B., Reggie B, and Sid, Dano B, Derek B, Sean B, and don't forget Big Hank, Don Ice, and Sire Rock, God bless Peter Wax, Chuck, and Pope, Chop, El Dorado, George, way back in the day, had all the brothers on the hill talking this way, they said, God, have mercy, L.A., Sunshine, and my DJ, Easy Lee, are from around the way, Jock, Philly, Phil, and Don D, all way, but they're chillin', Keith, KV, Steve-O, Ross, and A.F., Baroni, Toski, and Hunk, we fight but our hands and nobody's a punk, got it.
All right, we always appreciate all of our Spreaker fam out there, especially, well, all of them. None are better than any of the rest, but we continue to enjoy you listening to the program. Now, we're at a 10-year anniversary. 10 years ago today, former vice president and failed presidential candidate and plaintiff in the case of molesting his Mexican massager, I don't know. Al Gore said that, in 5 years, this is 10 years ago, in 5 years, well, I'll just let you listen.
It's hard to capture the astonishment that the experts in the science of ice felt when they saw this minimum in 2005, which meant that the amount of ice that had melted, it's been roughly the size of the continental United States, minus an area roughly the size of Arizona. Nothing against Arizona. But the amount that melted in 2005 was equivalent to an area covering everything east of the Mississippi River in the United States. Then, when the real shock to the scientists came was in 2007, when this happened. And their phrase was, it fell off a cliff. And then the extra amount that melted was this much. Now, this covers the area of ice. It does not cover the volume of the ice, and Bob Carell referred to this. The U.S. Naval Postgraduate School has a team that integrates the U.S. Navy's nuclear submarines that go under the ice cap and satellite measurements that are calibrated to work with it. And based on that, they said actually 2008 had a smaller minimum, probably, than 2007. And these are figures that are fresh. I don't know if they've been, I don't know when they were released, but I just got them yesterday from Dr. Václav Maslowski at the Naval Postgraduate School. And this is the volumetric record of the ice. And some of the models suggest to Dr. Maslowski that there is a 75% chance that the entire North Polar ice cap during some of the summer months could be completely ice-free within the next 5 to 7 years. And Bob used a figure of 2030. And the volumetric analysis leads this Dr. Maslowski to make that projection. We will find out.
Yes, we will, Al. And that's not going to stop you people from continuing to try to extort Americans. Because even if everything was right, no, I'm not even going there. It's such a phony thing. I mean, if you look at real metrics, what are real metrics? Real metrics are money. When you look at something like this, and it was an extortion scheme, still is. But, you know, the one good thing that John Boehner did before he decided to lobby for dope was stop the cap and trade fraud. I mean, I still have the tape somewhere. It was very late at night, and he went on a diatribe that I was proud of. It was the last thing I was ever proud of John Boehner doing, and it was in the first year of the Obama administration. What a loser. But you look at what happened at the Chicago Climate Exchange, which was headed by Al Gore, and it went bankrupt right after that. It's all a hoax. Ted Cruz does a very good job of tearing it apart, but yet the communists continue, and our young are so retarded in the literal translation of the word, ladies and gentlemen. They are retarded. They are being held back through no fault of their own by the way they've been programmed. And they believe it. I mean, even young Republicans believe it. Even some old Republicans probably have some money in the Chicago Climate Exchange believe it. But I wonder, does Marlene believe it out in Eugene?
Do I believe all about Al Gore? He is so full of stuff.
Yeah.
That's putting it politely.
It is.
I mean,
you know, I was watching him. I was watching him, and you can check it out at the Cold War Radio video clips, show video clips page.
I will.
He looks like a Vulcan.
He looks horrible now. He looks like he's blown up, like he's on steroids or something.
He is. He's and this is the way people like him end up. I mean, they're privileged their entire lives. I mean, this guy had a rich father who was a hell of a racist, but he was able to parlay that. I've seen aerial shots of some of the places where he lives, and it's just it's when you look at the contribution to American life that he has given, and you look at the riches that he has acquired because of that, it's criminal. It's absolutely criminal. You look at special forces guys or astronauts or firemen or good teachers or good authors or philosophers, and you look at the works that they have provided to humanity, and engineers and just medical people, and you look at this guy, and the worth of his life is about the same as Saddam Hussein's. I mean, he's a worthless individual when it comes to...
Yeah, no, he had all that worthless crap about the climate change. He was the one who made that wonderful little mini movie or whatever the heck it was.
Right.
I'm like, what?
Exactly.
Complete bogus.
It is.
But I guess the other thing, a couple of other things real quick. You were talking about the Boy Scouts. I remember the same thing happening to campfire girls out here. And
I forgot about them. I forgot about them. Are they still around?
Yes, they are. And what I remember when I was a kid in grade school, in junior high, mostly grade school though, we were campfire girls. And then at some point, I wish I could remember when, they decided to add the boys. And then they quit calling them campfire girls.
Now we're the
campfire.
Now we're the campfire people, or what?
They might be. I think they just left it a campfire, but they started adding the boys, and I'm like, what in the snot are these people doing now?
They did that here and in the inner cities. One of the organizations that assisted in raising me and, making me understand that when you're with a bunch of boys, there are rules. And
of course,
if you back down and you're a punk, that's what you're going to be the rest of your life. And you learn that very quickly, especially in the inner city, especially when you're white, because the majority of people at the boys' club were not white. And my son went there, and I gave him some instruction on how to deal with it, and he did, and ended up a hero there. And I did well myself, and they have now gone to the Boys and Girls Club, and I'm thinking, you morons! Nobody has any balls anymore. I'm sorry for using that expression, but
that's okay. But they don't.
I learned how to swim at the Shady Side Boys Club indoor pool, And people that are listening to this program, a lot of people that listen in Pittsburgh don't tell me, but I know they're listening. And this place was run by Italians, and it was a majority of black boys that were there, and it was awesome. I met so many good people there and have lasting relationships. But the swimming pool, there was a Navy frogman, which is a SEAL, right? Right. At that time, they were called frogmen, and taught me to swim and taught us, things that they learned from being in the SEALs, like how to move in the water without anybody knowing that you're moving. And at the end of every lesson, and I'm 7 years old at this time, and at the end of it, he would take a pen and he would put Chief Petty Officer rank on our arms, and it would be, you'd get promoted each time, you get more chevrons and whatever. A kid died in that pool, probably 25 years ago, and they cemented it in. Instead of upping their insurance or doing whatever and taking precautions to make sure it didn't happen again, our organizations and institutions are cowards. The people on these boards are cowards. And I say that
I'm agreeing with you.
I say that for the Episcopal Church too. And I'm going to call out Calvary Episcopal Church in Pittsburgh that has a church camp that 4 generations of my family, and 5 is coming up. My grandson's going there too. They have broken that down so badly that it is the political correct cesspool. I learned how to shoot a rifle.
In a church camp, no less.
I learned how to shoot a rifle at this church camp. A rifle from the NRA. I got NRA medals as I progressed. Cool. And they got rid of that. They got rid of the pellet guns that came after that. They'll probably get rid of archery next, and you probably won't be able to kiss a girl.
Probably not.
And boy, I had a good time doing that too. At the camp. You know what I mean? And it was everybody, it was all good. Yeah. It was America. And I watched the progression. I watched the progression when my grandfather was there. He was a champion boxer. When I got there was no more pugilism. There was no more boxing. We fought on our own, but my mother was a champion archer. Was a champion archer. My mother was,
Cool.
And
way cool.
My son worked there, met his wife there. Great place. And I kind of hope they're not listening right now because they really love the institution. But I've just watched it erode along with several others, and it's sad.
No, it's funny. I've kind of watched church erode out here in Oregon because various ones that my husband and I have gone to, it's almost like they don't even preach what they're supposed to.
No, they don't even have a Bible as a reference. They make their own prayer books and their own texts that aren't the Bible. I mean, they're about social justice.
Some of them do, or what they do. A lot of them do is, in fact, one church, which shall remain nameless. It's more you go there and they do quote the Bible, but it's all mush,
right?
And it's all self-help.
Marlene, what I'm going to do right now, I don't usually do on the show, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to leave you on, and I'm going to bring Sean from California to jump in. Sean, what are you thinking about, or what responses do you have what we're talking about now, or bring your own subject up?
Hutch, and hey, everybody, I got to agree with Marlene. Hey, Marlene, church is just eroding out here in California, and Marlene just alerted me that some of our high taxes are going over there now, too. So
they are.
It's getting to the point to where these people are so insane and so high tax everything that, they're not looking at France. They're not really looking at it. They're just going to keep pushing and pushing until they poke the bear, so to speak, to where we wake up and we're pissed off. And, here's the thing about France. They don't got any guns to do a revolution or whatever it is effectively. We do. And put that into the mix of a revolution, it's going to get ugly for both sides.
Sure it will.
In my opinion.
Exactly.
You're right. Now, the thing to understand historically, if the French would go into the revolutionary mode, there would be no shortage of weapons. Russia and China would pony up, and there'd be cases available. Just like in Ireland. I mean, when you had the IRA going on, you had bars in Boston that were putting together gun running deals, and fueling that fire. But that being said, it's just back to the local focus with our, and I call them mainline Protestant churches. The Catholic Church is in decline. They're in big trouble, man. They're almost, I don't know how they survive. I don't. But when you look at the other churches, go to any town, especially a small town, half the churches have for sale signs on them.
Yeah, I've kind of noticed that.
It's everywhere.
When I travel long distances.
Speaking of for sale signs, that happened in just a few blocks down the street from where I am. There was a church there in a corner, and now it's a great big apartment complex.
Right. Well, I have one that's a Buddhist temple. And I also have one that's one of the most successful restaurants in the city, the Church Brew Works, where they actually, when you go to this restaurant, and people in Pittsburgh know it's in Lawrenceville, but when you go to this former cathedral, none of the inside, with the exception of the altar, has been changed, and the pews. But you still have the sanctuary, and guess what's flanking on the sanctuary? 2 big wort tanks to make beer, and wood pizza ovens, in the sanctuary. And it gets even worse when you see the Muslims buying these churches because they are. No, they don't tear them down.
Wait, they don't?
All they do is chop the cross off the top and tear the altar out.
Oof.
And it's a ready-made mosque. And even worse, some of the churches that have, and there's a lot of them, that have vast administrative areas like offices and classrooms and cafeterias and things like, the churches. Those turn into Islamic centers. And these are the military headquarters of the enemy that is inside the wire. It's sad to say, but it is what it is.
You're telling the 100% truth, Hutch, and I don't know when people are just going to wake up and realize that this is not a religion. It's a political ideology, and they're here to stay.
Absolutely.
And,
not necessarily. We can change that, but we have to have some collective intestinal fortitude, and we have to destroy political correctness. And the only way that we're going to do it, one of the ways we're going to do it, is with this badass microphone I got right here. Because when you listen to the rest of these people, and you have any amount of intellectual integrity, you can tell that they're lying to you. And I mean, Fox News is number one. And I'll actually take it to you. Where's this at? All right, let's listen. Or I don't have any more clips, but I'm going to tell you this. Oops. China announces now. You've heard the economic news, and you've heard all of the gloom and doom that's happening to our farmers and everything else. Yet CNN doesn't report that China announced today that the first big soybean purchase is underway, and this was one of the things that the Never Trumper Democrats, the Never Trumper Republicans, and all the Democrats were saying that the soybean farmers were going to get put out of business because of crazy Trump's tariffs. But CNN ignored that news in an attempt to trash the president. It's everywhere. Hey, guys, thanks for calling. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Hutch.
Okay,
right,
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
What a crew, ladies and gentlemen. 412-206-6208 if you'd like to be on the program. Now, for all of you that thought and I know there were some listeners that felt this way. I never did. Well, maybe on the first day I did. But remember when Jeff Sessions put John Huber in charge of investigating the Hillary and Bill and Chelsea Clinton Foundation? He was going to be the savior. He was going to be the guy that had been doing all the hard work, and he was going to come up with the 1,652 indictments that have been sealed that Q talked about and everything. Well, guess what? Huber was called in front of Congress today, and what happened? The DOJ was unwilling to make investigator John Huber available, or if you go by Captain Coto Melendez vernacular, available for today's hearing on Clinton Foundation abuses. The Department of Justice told Congress that. In other words, let me frame that in a way that might make you as pissed off as I am at Jeff Sessions and the entire Justice Department debacle. The president's employees were unwilling to make investigator John Huber available for today's hearing on Clinton Foundation abuses. Donald Trump's people refused to make John Huber available because that's the fact. President Trump, if you're listening to me, and God, I hope somebody is, there is nothing more important in your mission to make America great again than to get us some good cops. My God, we cannot fight against these criminal miscreants without good cops with courage who don't care where the chips fall. Let them fall where they may. America can handle a good riot, believe me. If that happens, let it happen. We got to do something, because if you go away, either after your first term or even after your second term, and we don't plant these roots deep, in 4 years or 2 years or 6 years, we're going to be right back to where we started from, and the enemy in the Republican Party, like Senator Pat Toomey, and in the Democrat crime family, are going to bury us. They're going to bury us. They're going to send me to jail for having the audacity to say the truthful things that I am saying. So there you go. I think we can win. I do. I really do. Or I wouldn't keep doing this if I didn't. But we've got some obstacles. The judge that's overseeing General Flynn's sentencing dismissed a similar case in 2009 due to fraudulent 302 documents and DOJ misconduct. And we all know that that's what's occurred now. So everybody is waiting, and I should have brought the guy's name, and I didn't. I apologize. You can see it on the news. But this judge calls out prosecutorial misconduct. And if there was ever a case with prosecutorial misconduct, it is this one. So let's pray for the judge overseeing General Flynn's sentencing. This guy should not have been put in this situation. And if we don't clamp down, and I mean everybody involved in this, do you guys realize where we are right now? Do you realize that half the government And sometimes 3/4 of the government are trying to normalize the fact that the FBI and the Department of Justice and the IRS and the EPA and everybody else, the Department of Education, the Department of Energy, they all colluded to take our votes away. They colluded to take over the country. Anywhere else, there would be guillotines, there would be gallows, there would be firing squads, and there should be now. If we let these communists get away with this, we are lost. My God, we need an attorney general. I mean, we have to get a hold of this. And it's going to be unprecedented in the casualties because so many people have felt and feel like they can get away with it. And I'm talking in the media. If people in the media don't go to jail over what they've done, and I'm not talking about ideas and news reporting, I'm talking about criminality, trying to take away my freaking vote and your vote. We're lost if we don't fix that. The real collusion, Obama's FBI. Anybody who believes anything the FBI says right now is nuts. We should abolish the FBI. The FBI should be abolished. Everybody that's an employee of the FBI right now should get severance and be fired, and it's all done, and there's no more FBI. Collect all the guns, all the information and everything, and just abolish them. And you almost ought to do that with the DOJ too. Not almost. We should do that with the DOJ also. Defund them. It's never going to happen because now the House is in DOJ hands. The House is now in FBI hands. We're in Nazi Germany, folks. I'm telling you. And when you go to tune in my show and it's no longer there, you'll know what happened. Obama's, excuse me, Obama's FBI paid more on Russian dirt and fake news in the 2016 election than Russia did. That could affect me. That could literally affect me. Because as soon as there's no checks and balances and no more Alan Dershowitzes, can you imagine that I'm sitting here saying Alan Dershowitz is a good guy? As soon as that's gone, I'm gone. They'll send me, and I can jail. It's no problem. They can send me somewhere, and you'll never hear from me again. That's where we're headed. But you know what? Every now and then the president does something that just gives me hope. President Trump has canceled, this from Breitbart, has canceled the White House holiday party for the media, making the decades-old tradition a victim of his increasingly contentious relationship with major news organizations, Fox reports. Now, Fox, let me tell you something. You should have reworded that. You should have said the truth. That's all you needed to do is say President Trump has canceled the White House holiday party for the fake news Democrat-controlled media, making the decades-old tradition a victim of the lying-ass media. But, of course, they don't do that. They sided, I can't remember his name, man. He's such a worthless individual. But they sided with Acosta, you know, when he tried to sue him to get his pass back. The annual Christmas season gathering was a significant perk for those covering the White House, as well as other Washington reporters, anchors, and commentators, and New York media executives would regularly fly in for the occasion. Journalists who attended the events, which featured a catered buffet of lamb chops. Oh, God, I love lamb chops. You guys like lamb chops? Oh. Probably most of you never had them, but man, that's some good meat. Lamb chops, crab claws, and elaborate desserts got to roam the decorated mansion with a spouse or other family member, a friend, or a colleague, according to the invitation's allure. And after all this jet setting and crab clawing happening on what I am assuming is the taxpayer's dime, a line would then form as the President and First Lady patiently spent 2 hours posing for photos with all of these serial liars in front of the Christmas tree, or as the media prefer to call it, the winter solstice tree. Now, I want you to think about something. I want you to think about George H.W. Bush, George W. Bush, standing in front of this winter solstice tree, prostituting themselves out to people that made monkeys out of them every day. I'll add Ronald Reagan into that too. Every day they made monkeys out of these Republicans, and they were such pussies, they just let it continue. They invited them all in the house, right after the Ramadan dinner probably, and pretended that these people didn't hate them. It's enough to tick you off. It really is. Because the taxpayers are likely funding this disgusting honoring of fake news elites, that alone makes it worse than a similar gathering, the execrable but annual White House Correspondents' Dinner, where the elite media pretend to raise money for scholarships as it awards its left-wing self, and left-wing awards awarding left-wingism. Fox Fake News adds that while dropping the media party, the White House is in the midst of a full panoply of other parties this holiday season. Selected media people generally favorable to Trump include a few fake Fox News hosts have made those guest lists. That shouldn't be happening either. The problem with these events, most especially pre-Trump, is watching the establishment media honored and feted as though they are not the worst people in the world. The phoniness of the charade is galling. Even the Academy Awards are not this bad. At the very least, those receiving an Oscar have at least accomplished something, created something. The media, however, accomplish and create nothing. Nothing but hot air, hate, chaos, horrible predictions, low ratings, left-wing opinions, sanctimony, and lies. Other than our divided country and the smoldering ruins of Ferguson and Baltimore, what do the media have to show for their terrible selves? Well, I'll tell you what they got to show for it. President Donald Trump. Because you people in the media are so stupid. And when you can tell how foolish they are when the teleprompter fails or when they get an answer they weren't expecting. They're not very smart, ladies and gentlemen, not at all. So I'm enjoying the fact that he did that. I really am. 412-206-6208. If you'd like to be on the show. Trump's new Africa strategy takes sharp aim at China and Russia. Obviously not reported. You haven't heard this anywhere because the president is too stupid to actually solve international problems. From the AP in Washington, the Trump administration on Thursday announced a sharp refocus of its Africa strategy to counter what it called the predatory practices of China and Russia, which are deliberately and aggressively targeting their investments in the region to gain a competitive advantage. Now, I haven't talked that much about Russia in the region because, frankly, Russia doesn't scare me at all. China, on the other hand, I have been talking about way back since the Mr. J days of rare earth harvesting and acquisition of African land by military Chinese entities of rare earth sources. And when I say rare earth, I'm talking about minerals that are primarily present in Africa, in the continent. And everything that we have, my iPad, your cell phone, your computer, your monitor, anything electronic is highly dependent on these things. National Security Advisor John Bolton laid out the new strategy in remarks at the Heritage Foundation, saying that the U.S. will now choose its African partners more carefully. Well, I hope you looked at South Africa, John, and how white farmers are being singled out and their farms are being confiscated with no compensation to the owners. And, by the way, maybe we'll boil some of the farmers' white children in oil as we take their farms. Some brutal stuff going on over there. Nothing out of the federal government about this. Russia, he alleged, is also seeking to increase its influence in the region through corrupt economic dealings. Russia and China's efforts across the African continent, he said, stunt its economic growth. Critics are skeptical because it has taken nearly 2 years into Trump's presidency to announce the Africa strategy. And the president is well known for his disparaging remarks about the continent that is home to 1.2 billion people. And what's the author talking about from the AP when he says that? Hey, the president said that a lot of immigrants or migrants that try to come to the United States are from shithole countries. And I ask you, when's the last time you bought a car that was made in Africa? Hell, when's the last time you bought a loaf of bread that was made in Africa? Do they make anything? It is what it is. Yeah, I mean, political correctness is it's madness. Addressing members of Congress on Wednesday, Assistant Secretary of State Tibor Nagy was the latest to warn of China's increasing economic, military, and political influence in Africa, a continent with some of the world's fastest-growing economies and trillions of dollars worth of natural resources. Africa's population is set to double, by 2050, he said, a demographic tsunami. Can we build that wall, ladies and gentlemen? Matter of fact, can we build 4 of them? This is getting to the point where I don't know, but if we're not careful, we're going to have a problem over here. No question about that. I would ask you to Google that to get deeper into our Africa problem and actually policy. All right, finally, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about fellow radio talk show host, conservative radio talk show host Curt Schilling, as he rips in to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Here's what he says. This is from William Davis, ladies and gentlemen. Former baseball player Curt Schilling ripped into Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on Tuesday, calling her the most unintelligent person, man, or woman in our government. Schilling's tweet was a response to Ocasio-Cortez's tweet about outgoing House Speaker Paul Ryan. And she says, double standards are Paul Ryan being elected at 28 and immediately being given the benefit of his ill-considered policies considered genius. and me winning a primary at 28 to immediately be treated with suspicion and scrutinized down to my clothing of being a fraud. And then Ezra Klein tweets, I gave Paul Ryan the benefit of the doubt. I was wrong. I hate trying to read stories that are solely based on Twitter. It's because you have to read them over and over again. Now, here comes Kurt Schilling, who says, no, you're being scrutinized and treated with suspicion because every time you speak, you say something more stupid than the last time you spoke. You are a college graduate and likely the most unintelligent person, man or woman, in our government. And all I can say to that is, now, a congressman, where's he from? A Democrat out of Rhode Island, Representative David Chickling, took to Twitter to defend Ocasio-Cortez and actually said, Kurt, you still owe my state $75 million. Maybe worry about that before you go after Ocasio-Cortez again. Of course, Kurt came right back, no punk. Don't owe you a dime, and the state screwed the deal because they keep electing asshats like you. A chip off the old Lincoln Chaffee block. And if you don't know who Lincoln Chaffee is, I just showed my age, because I do. All right. That being said, Ocasio really is bad. Ocasio-Cortez. Anyone with a hyphenated name is, and I understand Puerto Ricans do that. They keep their mother's name or whatever it is, but I don't know. I don't buy it. Last chance, 412-206-6208. Before we wrap it up, we will be back on Friday with the full panel, I hope. I mean, I haven't had any cancellations yet, but we always like the Friday shows, and I'm feeling good. I got a lot off my chest, and ready to wrap it up for the evening, but I will, again, take your calls. I'll stick around here for a minute or two more to see if somebody wants to call. I'd really love, if you're listening to the show and you've never called before, 412-206-6208. Call me up and tell me why you never called, or tell me what's on your mind, or something like that. Now, to the rest of you, I would ask you to please share the show, and please, when you're offline and you're talking to people, tell them, you ought to check out this show, man. There's a lot of people in the chat room you can talk to, and just a great family. I'd like to get the numbers up a little bit. I love you no matter what the numbers are. It doesn't really matter. But that's about it. All right, I didn't expect, I thought somebody might call, but that's all right. It doesn't matter. I want to thank everybody for listening live. Thanks to those of you in the Spreaker chat room. You guys are the best. And those of you listening to the podcast, we love you too. We'd like you to be able to get out at 8 p.m. Eastern, but we understand that's not always possible. And actually, that's one of the really cool things about podcasts, is you can actually get them anytime you want. So I'm Hutch Bailey Jr., host of Cold War Radio, and I look forward to tomorrow's show. So I'm going to leave you right now. Let's have some fun. Henry Davis. Yeah, Henry Davis. See ya.
Stop now. USA! USA!
But baby, it's cold outside.
I've got to go
But
away.
baby, it's cold outside.
This evening has
Been hoping that you dropping in. I'll hold.
Hello? Who's this? The Millennial Police. Oh, you didn't like that song? Oh, there's a millennial version. The man bun skinny jeans version. All right, send it over. I'll play it. All right. Yep, got it. Thanks.
I really can't stay.
Okay, you're free to go.
I've got to go away.
Understood, no means no.
This evening has been
Super
so
appropriate.
very nice.
But I do understand
My
consent.
mother will start to worry.
Definitely text her right
Father
now.
will be pacing the floor.
Here's the code and there is the
So
door.
really I'd better scurry.
I am gonna stand over
Well, maybe
here.
just a half a drink
You
more.
are in control of this
The neighbors
thing.
might think.
Invite them over if you like.
Say, what's in this drink?
Nothing but Sprite.
I wish I knew how
Just walk right out
to
the
break
door.
the spell.
I do know how to spell harassment.
No,
I
sir.
hear you loud and
At least I'm
clear.
gonna say that I tried.
I'm trying super
I really
hard.
can't stay.
Please just go out,
Ah,
baby.
but
Just
it's
go
cold
outside.
I simply must go.
Uber is right outside.
The answer is no.
Seriously, right
The
outside.
welcome has been
I'll walk you to
so
the
nice and
curb,
warm.
but totally consensual.
There's bound to be talk tomorrow.
Hopefully not about
At least
us.
there will be plenty
Please
implied.
do not imply anything.
I really can't stay.
Baby, just go out. Baby,
Baby,
just
it's
go. Baby,
Baby,
just
it's
go
cold
outside.
Donald! Donald! Help me, Donald! Get us back! Get us back! I don't care what happens to Hillary! Get America back to honoring family again! Help us, Donald, please! Please! Make America great again! Make America great again! Make America great again! Please, God, help Donald Trump make America great again!
It's the most wonderful time in 8 years. Yet some kids are protesting while Trump fans investing their time with good cheer. Sing, it's the most wonderful time in 8 years. It's the happiest voting season of all. With each staff member, Trump picks Democrats up to their old tricks, just trashing them all. But it's the happiest election season of all. There'll be one party hosting, all three branches toasting, but how low now will the press go? They'll spin misguided stories trying to steal Trump's glory from a playbook written long, long ago. It's the most wonderful time in 8 years. There'll be much more enjoyment, a lot less unemployment, 'cause Trump will be near. It's the most wonderful time in 8 years. Hillary's party's not hosting, they're no longer toasting.
Beyonce, Kanye, cop killers, racists, and the Muslim Brotherhood.
They ignored true stories of Hillary, who wasn't sorry for her crimes now and long ago. Now it's the All the criminals' taxes will be minimal. Bad trade deals disappear. It's the most wonderful time. Yes, the most wonderful time. Oh, the most wonderful time. In 8 years.
You are listening to Cold War Radio.
Leaves have all fallen back home where I'm from. Thanksgiving's come, Thanksgiving's gone, and my family tells stories around their Christmas tree in the warm living room on Christmas Eve. And the candlelight shimmers as I write down the song. Place far away, family and home as the pen hits the paper. Shadows grow long, but I stay here a soldier. Spin my gun on this Christmas, I'll tell you truth in my heart from a place that's forgotten. Time, God, and love, I'll stay here, man. My word and faith, there's nothing in this world that I wouldn't trade to go home. I wanna go home. I wanna go home on Christmas Day. Can Thanksgiving's come, Thanksgiving's gone, but I stay in the fight. I'll soldier on for the ones who will never come home.
No, Ken, don't ever worry about that, man. I'm DJing. But guess what? My patrons pay me, so that makes me professional. I'm a professional DJ. I can handle songs, DJing, talk, news. And guess what? Good evening, Artie. What's on your mind, sir? Where'd you go, Artie? Uh-oh. Can't hear Artie. So maybe I'm not that professional. I don't know. Anyway, okay, well, we tried that. I don't know if when I re-signed on, I should be all right. Let's just check something out here. And no, I don't want to do that. But I'm going to try this again. I didn't hear you sign on, so that's not a good sign. Anyway, so we tried with the phone, and I just made a jerk out of myself. But that's all right. Let me try to see if I can regroup. Not sure if I can or not, but let's give it a shot because that's what I like to do. I didn't really change anything, but this software is a little funny. I have noticed that from time to time it decides to change up in between time frames. But let me just see something here and check. I have to do a little thing, and yeah, that's working. And no, I can't hear the audio coming from my speakers. So, okay, I don't know what happened there. But at any rate, we are going to continue to march. I'm going to check something real fast here as I'm talking to you. I don't know if this messed with that or not, but we'll see in a minute. And, all right, let's change this and make this. No, I see what's wrong. Okay. No problem. No problem. I got it now. And watch me get Artie back real quick. And he didn't even know I was going to. What's up, Art? Say something to me, baby. Wait, let me hit that first. Hold on, we're almost there. Almost there. Might have to listen to something. Nope. Hello, you are almost on the air. You are in the queue to be on Cold War Radio. Please turn your listening device down. Have your first name and location. Let me shut that off. And, all right, is it over? Yeah, it's over. Okay, Artie, you're on, buddy. You're on. What's going on?
Hey, Hutch.
I told you I could do it.
I wanted to thank you for giving Boston Red Sox pitcher Curt Schilling an honorable mention today.
Oh, yeah, he's a fellow radio host. I mean, when I used to be on the Wayne Dupree show and that jerk off from Canada used to mess with us. He used to mess with Curt Schilling, too. But he's,
who is that?
I forget his name. Some guy out of Canada. Remember he used to make YouTube videos and put us in there. I forget his name. It doesn't matter.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, he was given the bum's rush of Curt Schilling by a corrupt state, which I was born and raised in, Rhode Island.
Right.
And the guy was amazing. He pitched the 2004 World Series. And he's known throughout New England as the Bloody Sock.
Yeah, I remember that. I mean, he was a quintessential pitcher who's still not in the Hall of Fame over that.
Yes, sir. Yeah, you know what's amazing too.
Explain to the audience the Bloody Sock. It was a pretty serious thing.
Yeah, they needed Curt to what we call reverse the curse of Babe Ruth.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's the rivalry between the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees. But go ahead.
Yes, sir. And interestingly enough, that bloody sock was a result of he actually had a part. I guess they farmed a part of a human person to put in his ankle, and he actually went out and pitched the game with another person with him on the pitching mound, and it was his ankle was bleeding because he actually the surgery wasn't completely healed, and he went out and pitched that game, and it was the most fascinating thing because back home we all were waiting like for the Red Sox to advance, and because of his efforts they did.
Right.
They won the 2004 World Series.
And ended the curse. Curse.
Yes, sir. They sure did.
Did you ever read any books about the Red Sox?
Oh, sure, yeah.
A good friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, a really good friend of mine.
Yes, sir.
Moved to Boston and is a huge Red Sox fan, and he wrote a #1 bestseller. I wish I knew the title of the book, but he wrote a #1 bestseller about the Red Sox. His name is Stu Onan. I don't know if you've ever come across any books about the Red Sox by Stu Onan, but if you haven't, you should go look for it. I mean, he's my age, a really good friend of mine, and his claim to fame was and he's a Pittsburgh guy, but he ended up being a fan of the Boston Red Sox. A bit of blasphemy when you're coming from Pittsburgh and doing that with the history that we have with the Pittsburgh Pirates. I mean, we won the very first World Series in history, and we beat the Yankees, obviously, in 1960. But, I always wanted to go to Fenway Park. I haven't been there yet. I mean, Boston is like damn near like San Francisco on the East Coast. I mean, you can't afford anything there. It's horrible. Now, you said about Rhode Island. I wanted to ask you, what was the mayor's name, the mob guy that was the mayor up there in the 90s? It started with a C.
Oh, yeah, Buddy.
Yeah.
Buddy Cianci.
Yeah, what a guy, man. I mean, you talk about running the town, man. This guy ran Providence. He ran Providence. And I've said, since then, since I looked into that, I used to study organized crime pretty in depth. And this guy, regardless of all that, if you look at Providence, Rhode Island, I don't know what it's like now, and I've never been there. So I'll say that up front. But at least the coverage of Providence really showed me that unlike my city of Pittsburgh, who is still stuck in the past, Providence really exploited its waterfront, its rivers. I mean, to where they had torches in there. And I mean, have you ever been there? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah, sure. I would, my late father worked there for the family courts in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
That's the Ewald Marine I told you about before.
Okay.
And, Providence is a very, very corrupt city. Their governor, the female governor, she's about as left as you can get. And I think you mentioned the congressman from which would represent the area that I grew up in. It's an Italian name, begins with a C.
Right. I'm trying to look.
But, getting back to the Red Sox, man, I'll tell you, I was fortunate as a kid in Knickers to have followed Ted Williams' career. And he was the last man ever to bat 400 in baseball.
Who'd you say?
And,
Ted Williams.
Oh, yes, sir.
Oh,
yeah.
Iron Man. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
he never
I'll
gets
tell you.
he never gets the respect he deserves either. Except I remember as a kid, a lot of the baseball bats, the Louisville Sluggers that I used were Ted Williams.
Sure.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, Sears, he went into Sears endorsements, and
Right.
he endorsed fishing tackle, which was a big love of his, fishing.
Right, and mine.
Baseball, of course. And I have all bats and gloves. I'm a collector of Ted Williams.
All right.
Because, he gave up 5 years of his baseball career to military service.
Good deal.
And he even was shot up flying a fighter pilot. His plane in over Korea.
You notice that people in our culture that we hold in high esteem, unlike the communists, and I'll just mention a few, and you might not agree with all these, but it's from my perspective. Jimi Hendrix, Elvis Presley, Rocky Blyer, I mean, just so many, Jimmy Stewart, Americans that you know in a different light that were actually military, if not heroes, at least participants, veterans. They went and did what they had to do. They didn't try to get out of it like Blumenthal in New York or Connecticut. What a disgrace he is, or Bill Clinton. And others.
Jimi Hendrix, he served in the Army.
He did, in the 101st Airborne.
Long before he ever, I believe he went over to London after his military service and got his musical career off the ground in London.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And, so many irony.
What made him or gave him rather the capability to do the things that he did. And it's not just him. It was him and a guy you probably never heard. I mean, unless you're into jazz, a guy named Thelonious Monk, who was unfortunately a heroin addict, but he was a piano player. And Jimi Hendrix, who was a guitar player, had massive hands. Their hands were so big that in Thelonious Monk's case, he was able to play the piano with extra fingers because his thumb was so big and his pinky finger was so big that they just dominated the keyboard. Jimi Hendrix was the same way with his thumb. He could come around the neck of the guitar and hit the highest note on the last string of the 6-string or 12-string guitar with his thumb, which gave him an additional capability to use those notes, and it was just phenomenal in both of their music.
Oh, sure, yeah. I really think that mentioning those people are that we're in show business. No one would have ever thought that they served their country or played on a sports field. Really makes you take a look at what great people.
What being an American used to mean and what it should mean again. I mean, when you look at Elvis Presley, he was already, Jimi Hendrix was not, but Elvis Presley was already a star when he went into the Army, and he was in the Cold War radio.
Yes,
God bless you, Elvis Presley. But he was offered to stay in the States and play for the USO and be a morale booster, and he said, "Oh no." He said, "Oh no, I got drafted I'm going to Germany, and, you know, as far as I'm concerned, because this is where I made my bread and butter, went right to a tank company and was a tank crewman. God bless them for that, because that's not an easy job.
Yeah, I'm a big Elvis fan, and I have nothing but deep respect for his commitment to, you know, our country and doing the right thing and obeying the law.
Yeah.
But other people weren't, and we're avoiding the draft.
And you know what? You know what is so bad about Elvis Presley, Artie? He loved beautiful women. Can you imagine? What a prick. What a prick. He loved beautiful women. I mean, what a miscreant. What a just a pure misogynist pig.
Yeah.
And I love him too, my man. And you know what? No one's ever going to change that. Never going to change that. Thanks for calling, Artie. I appreciate it.
Hey, have a good night.
Glad I finally got...
thank you.
Yeah, anytime. Glad I got my act together. I almost made a fool out of myself. But the key word, ladies and gentlemen, is almost and professional. As I was talking smack, I was fixing it and got it right one more time for the millennials.
I really can't stay.
Okay, you're free to go.
I've got to go away.
Bunch of punks.
No means no.
This evening has been
super appropriate.
So very nice.
But I do understand consent.
My mother will start to worry.
Definitely text her right now.
Will be pacing the floor.
Here's the code and there is the
so
door.
Really I'd better scurry.
I am gonna stand over
well,
here.
Maybe just a half a drink
You
more.
are in control of this
the
thing.
Neighbors might think.
Invite them over if you like.
Say, what's in this drink?
Nothing but Sprite.
Just
walk right out the door. I do know how to spell harassment. I hear you loud and clear. I'm trying super hard.
Trying super hard.
Baby, just go outside.
I simply must go.
Uber is right outside.
The answer is no.
Seriously, right outside.
The welcome has been.
I'll walk you to
so
the curb,
nice
but totally consensual.
There's bound to be talk tomorrow.
Hopefully not about
At
us.
least there will be plenty implied.
Please do not imply anything.
I really can't stay.
Baby, just go.
Please do not
Baby,
imply
just
anything.
Go. Baby, just go outside.
Coming soon to your neighborhood. Winter. The year's most gripping, most chilling experience for you and your car. When winter comes, will your car be ready? Make it ready now with your Texaco dealer's exclusive 3-season antifreeze service. Fall, winter, spring protection for the price of winter protection alone this fall. Get a complete cooling system check, plus Texaco antifreeze. Guaranteed antifreeze protection. Then, all winter long, this seal guarantees that any Texaco dealer will maintain the degree of protection specified, as explained on the seal. And next spring, get a free cooling system check again. Hurry! Winter's coming soon to your neighborhood. Get Texaco's 3-season antifreeze service now at this sign.
You can trust your car to the man who wears the star, the big, bright Texaco star.
Good evening. Do not attempt to adjust your radio. There is nothing wrong. We have taken control as to bring you this special show. We will return it to you as soon as you are grooving.
Okay, you must be grooved because we're going to return the show to you. Thanks for calling, Artie. And I wonder, ladies and gentlemen, if you like the new format. If you like the new format of the 2-hour show. Now, this is a little special because it's just a special report. I'm getting ready to sign off in a minute, but I'm just curious if you like it. I like it. I think it's a good idea to give up a little bit of a break in the middle of the 2 hours, but wonder how you like it. right, we got to hear from the family, ladies and gentlemen. It wouldn't be Cold War Radio in the Christmas season if we didn't Feliz Navidad. Robert Earl Keynes, ladies and gentlemen. Merry Christmas from the family. Thank you, Mr. J.
Mom got drunk and Dad got drunk at a Christmas party.
I think Mr. J ought to come on the Christmas show. What do you think?
Champagne punch and homemade eggnog. Little sister brought her new boyfriend. He was a Mexican. We didn't know what to think of him till he sang Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad. Brother Ken brought his kids with him. The three from his first wife, Lynn, and the two identical twins from his second wife, Marinelle. Of course, he brought his new wife, Kay. He talks all about AA, chain smoking while the stereo plays. Noel, Noel, the first Noel. Carved the turkey, turned the ball game on. Mixed margaritas when the eggnog's gone. Send somebody to the quick pack store. We need some ice and an extension cord. A can of bean dip and some diet rides. A box of tampons, some Marlboro Lights. Hallelujah, everybody say cheese. Merry Christmas from the family. Fran and Rita drove from Harlingen. I can't remember how I'm kin to them, but when they tried to plug their motorhome in, they blew our Christmas lights. Cousin David knew just what went wrong, so we all waited out on our front lawn. He threw a breaker and the lights came on, and we sang Silent Night, oh, Silent Night. Oh, holy night. Carve the turkey, turn the ball game on. Make Bloody Marys, 'cause we all want one. Send somebody to the stop and go. We need some celery and a can of fake snow. A bag of lemons and some diet Sprites. A box of tampons, some Salem Lights.
Gotta have them Salem Lights, baby.
Everybody say cheese.
Merry Christmas from the family. Feliz
Police stop my car. Police stop my car. The police made me stop. Walk a straight line and blow a balloon up. Police stop my car.
All right, Pedro.
Police stop my car. The police made me stop. Walk a straight line and blow a balloon up. They wanna wish me a sober Christmas. That's why they always put me over Christmas. They say they're just making sure that there's no open bottles in my car. They wanna wish me a sober Christmas. That's why they always put me over Christmas. They say they're just making sure that there's no open bottles in my car. Police road the block. Police road the block. Police road the block. I can smell their donuts as they smell my breath. Police road the block. Police road the block. Police road the block. I can smell their donuts as they smell my breath. They wanna wish me a sober Christmas. That's why they always put me over Christmas. They're gonna let me out on bail this Christmas from the bottom of their hearts. Police lock me up. Police lock me up. The police lock me up. 'Cause when I do a 2.1.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Hi, we're the Admirations, and we would like to say to you, Hurricane, a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. If you ever dreamed of a Christmas, let this be the Christmas you dreamed of. A surprise will come to you one day. Joy on Santa's sleigh. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas.
All over our wonderful nation, the bells are ringing. In small country churches, in towering cathedrals, from the bikes of children in a crowded city. Yes, the bells are ringing. They're ringing out to tell the world that this nation has united in peace to defend its freedom. And there are Christmas bells, a sort of composite of all the others. They celebrate the birth of the Prince of Peace. Their tinkling sound tells us to be good and to be true, and to remember our men in uniform here and overseas. So let the bells ring out. And let me, on behalf of the manager and all the employees of this theater, wish you the merriest Christmas ever.
Say, has this been happening to your Christmas list? Every year it seems to stretch, gets longer and longer. Well, that's good. It means your list of friends is growing, too. What will you give them? Camels, of course. Camel makes the smokers on your list so easy to shop for. You're giving them the taste that has kept Camel, by far, America's largest selling, best liked regular cigarette. So give them 10 Camel packs in one bright red and gold carton. No wrapping needed. There's even a greeting card right here on the side. You just sign, present, and watch for the smiles. Camel gives you easygoing taste and choice quality tobaccos. The best tobacco makes the best smoke. Remember, this Christmas, make it Camel time.
Cold War Radio. And ladies and gentlemen, just to announce, Ken Crater in the Spreaker chat room has just announced that he is running for vice president of the Cold War Radio VFW, and we wish you luck, sir.
Baraka Claus is coming to town. Baraka Claus is coming to town. You better not work. You better not try. Get your hand out. I'm telling you why. Baraka Claus is coming to town. Baraka Claus is coming to town. Baraka Claus is coming to town. If you're a success, I'm taxing you twice. Gonna reverse who's naughty and nice. Hey, Baraka Claus is coming to town. Baraka Claus is coming to town. Baraka Claus is coming to town. I'll pay you just for sleeping. Don't work, stay home and play. You will care if you're bad or good, 'cause if you're bad, you get more cake. So, Republicans, watch out. I'm looking real fly. Media shouts, we elected our guy. Hey, Baraka Claus is coming to town. Baraka Claus is coming to town. Baraka Claus is coming to town. The market's going down. Why do you have a frown?
Who knows? But ladies and gentlemen, it's been a great night. Let's listen to one more. We're going to go down to West Virginia. West Virginia. Merry Christmas.
Dreaming of a white trash Christmas. We'll decorate the mobile home. There'll be cousins kissing and front teeth missing, and you'll hear Grandpa peeing in the snow. I'm dreaming of a white trash Christmas. No Christmas card from my ex-wife.
I did get a subpoena, though.
Our family tree
Get that subpoena.
is leaning to the right, and we'll all be playing poker Christmas night.
Ladies and gentlemen, one of the three wise men on harmonica. Let's pick out a few presents now.
We're gonna celebrate another white trash Christmas with Mad Dog wine and Miller Lite. And when our hound dog is howling through the night, he says, may all your Christmases be white.
Be white.
Pay no attention to that trespassers will be shot sign. That don't apply to you, Santa.
Doesn't apply to you.
Nice rack
sir.
on Blitzen, though.
Oh, what a rack. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, send a self-addressed stamped envelope, an SASE, to the show at Cold War Radio. Oh, man, I took it down, but it's P.O. Box 96022, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, for the Cold War Radio VFW sweepstakes to get your Jane Fonda urinal target. Ladies and gentlemen, the first ever Cold War Radio VFW sweepstakes. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. We take you out with Army Strong And God bless America. Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming around. We had a great time tonight, didn't we? Every now and then I have an overload. I got to get out there and I got to talk, and I did that tonight. Thank you for being receptive to that. Thanks for calling, especially after the show when I, forgot to push a button. All that. I was looking at it right away. People like me, they overdiagnose stuff. I'm in the settings of Windows, the settings of Uber Conference, the settings of everything. And all I had to do was look over to my mixer and realize I had muted the call-in line. Fixed that, got it up. You didn't even realize, what did it take? 3 minutes? As I was talking on live radio to be able to handle that. Thanks to the patrons. You pay me. That makes me professional. Army strong. God bless. Because we are. And I just want to ask you, ladies and gentlemen, of all of the shows, media, whatever, that you listen to, is there anything out there, anywhere, that even compares to this show, to what you get here? Is there anything out there with the variety and the opinions and the hard news and the comedy all molded together by this studio in Pittsburgh? There's nothing out there at all. And when you're thinking about who to contribute to, I just ask you to ask yourself that question. And from my co-host, who does a lot more than co-host for the show, by the way, I'm going to play this. Something you would never have heard otherwise. Sonner of Norge, Sons of Norway, former national anthem of the Kingdom of Norway. Yeah, you know me. Here we go. Let's get down to the hood, baby. Oh, yeah. Hey, I want to thank everybody for listening. Absolutely. And if you can get some more listeners, man, do that. It's just a show. This is how we do it every now and then. I have a little bit of overload. I got to get out there for the Navy. Tonight, we're going to close it out. Thanks for listening, and God bless. Now, I love you squids. I do. I love you squids in the Navy. But you know me, and there's no way that I was going to let you finish off this show. To the horse soldiers, God bless. Tanks, stay on the tank. Kill Indians.